This is Just Common Sense, embracing common sense conservative principles with Dr. Johnny Hunter.
One of our people that's worked with us many years ago, and she was a college student right at Fayetteville State University, and she saw a display come down from our organization, where we call it the Genocide Awareness Project. And the Genocide Awareness Project brings it in a very graphic way of how bad abortion really is. And the Genocide Awareness Project let us know that there were times that people were silent when people was taken to concentration camps. There was time that people were silent when blacks was being lynched in trees. And there are times now that people are silent and little children are being killed. But they also noticed that how the number of abortion clinics are literally mostly in the black communities. I remember finding out the real thing was pretty close to about 75 to 80% of abortion clinics are in the black communities. And when we published that, I remember getting a call from Pastor Arnold Colbert, and he was saying, Pastor Hunter, your data's not quite accurate. I said, what he said, no, you and I said, well, it's about, I said, we can validate that it's in 80% of the minorities community. He said, yes, but that's misleading. And I said, why? He said, because 100% of them are within a 2-mile radius of any black community anywhere in the United States. If there's not a black community within 2 miles of an abortion clinic, it does not exist nowhere in the United States. That was a wake-up call. And so the Genocide Awareness Project really will bring it home, but it does it in a very graphic way where they actually show it. And the students that lead it are students that Dr. Pastor Colonard from New Jersey. He came down and leaded it. And it touched a lot of the students' heart. And one of the students' heart that it touched was Taheiya. And you got to understand, this is a young lady that really graduated with a number of degrees, just dynamic young lady. And she decided to make the pro-life and to make sure that the minority people are not just taken out. But she also did it because she loves all people. In other words, if you really know what it is, if you can stop it for this group, you can stop it for everybody. And that's what she was up to. And she really caught her. Then, so rather than working with our organization, she started working with the Center for Bioethical Reforms. Now, what they will do, they are really the key people behind helping us with the GAP project, the Genocide Awareness Project. And she literally started traveling across the United States, helping them out whenever they need it. And she's a very articulate young lady, but it was very disturbing on this particular day that she called in. And she had some very disturbing news.
And the incident we're talking about, the incident that Taheiya called us about, this actually happened on April 20th, 2023, and she was on the campus of West Virginia University in Morgantown, West Virginia, and this all took place within the Starbucks within that Barnes Noble.
Yes, there was a Barnes Noble, and she'll try to explain it when you listen to her interview, that Barnes Noble doesn't claim to be a part of the campus, but they're right there at the campus. They're right there, you know. And I'm pretty sure that the students working inside were probably students at that particular college, you know. And when she called, rather than me tell what you're going to hear, we just need to let people hear it. And this is Taheiya's call.
So yes, I am Taheiya Ellerbe. I am a pro-life activist and volunteer for CBR, Center of Bioethical Reform, out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And we are in West Virginia at West Virginia State University on the campus, promoting or holding up our GAP signs, which is the Genocide Awareness Project. And we are saying that abortion is terrible, to a genocide, to different type of genocidal issues that are occurring in and out of America. And on my lunch break on today, I experienced a situation that I didn't think I would ever experience, and it just really shook me and had me very emotional and still a little shaken. But because of the faith that I have, because I am confident in God, because the joy of the Lord is my strength, and He gives me peace that surpasses all understanding, I'm able to stand tall and move forward. I am shaken about the situation, the hatred that I received. I went on my lunch break inside of a Starbucks. Well, it's a Barnes Noble that has a Starbucks on the inside, and it also has some student gear, college gear. However, this building is right next to the university. However, they don't operate the same as the university. I went to order something from Starbucks. I was picking up a couple of items, and the young man, which was a college student, I presume, stated that, "Hey, I will not serve you because you are out there with that group, because of what you guys are standing behind, the posters that you're putting up. I will not serve you." And I said, no problem. I said, we may not agree on this issue of abortion and the effects that it has on the society and the community. You may not agree with me. I may not agree with how you feel about it, but we don't have to be hateful or disrespectful towards one another. We can agree to disagree. And he said, "I don't care what you say. I'm not going to serve you. I'm not going to do any of those things." So there was another person there at the counter. I proceeded to ask her, "Hey, could I get a, salted caramel sugar cookie?" She said, "I am not going to serve you. I will not do that." So because this young lady was an African American, I thought this to be a teachable moment. I said, do you not realize that this is the very same thing that our ancestors fought for? Because we were not able to go into certain places because of the color of our skin, we were denied and refused services. I said, this is the very same thing that you all are doing. I said, this is discrimination. This is a form of discrimination. And I said, they told me to proceed to speak with management. I went to management. I said, "Hey, I'm trying to order an item. The students are refusing to serve me." And this management said that because we're separate from the university, I am not obligated to abide to the rules and regulations of the university. And with that being said, we are choosing not to serve you or anyone that's a part of this group because of the ugliness of that you guys are showing. And I said, this is an ugly situation because abortion, it stops the life, it stops the process of a child being born into this world. It's a sign of dismemberment, this decapitation of an innocent, unborn human being. That is ugly. That's something that I believe and I stand up for. You may or may not disagree with me, but it doesn't mean you deny me of my service. You shouldn't have to, tell me I can't be served because you don't agree with what I believe in. And he just said, "Well, my students are upset, my workers are upset, and I'm just going to have to, we're not going to serve you." And I said, he was afraid that the people were going to walk off of work. And I said, "Hey, sir, maybe you need to just get some new help, because if they're going to walk off work because of this situation, then they are not committed to the job. I can see if someone's life was in danger, someone was being threatened, but you guys are refusing me. How should I feel about that? You're refusing me of me just purchasing an item." And he just said, "No, we're not going to serve you." And he said, "Well, we're not going to keep you from coming inside, but we're not going to serve you." Well, sir, if you're not going to serve me, then why would I come inside of an establishment that doesn't want to, service me or my colleagues? So I walked out and, wisdom kicked in. Well, let me just get his information of, who he is, just in case I needed to reach back out for whatever purposes. So I went back inside and I did have a recording on and a voice memo recording. He told me who he was. He told me his name and that he was the manager over this Barnes Noble that has a Starbucks on the inside. He said that because of his workers are upset because of what we're displaying on these posters, that he's not going to serve me. He said, this is not a personal thing, but we're just not going to service you. what he did proceed to say is, if you want anything, I can secretly get the items for you. If you want something specific, I can secretly get those items. And I'm just kind of like, that really makes no sense whatsoever. And I said, sir, do you realize that this is a form of discrimination? In spite of what we believe in or not believe in together or disagree, this is still a form of discrimination. You're denying me of coming in to purchase an item. That's discrimination. And, that was kind of it. So I went back inside. After the fact, there was a student who went because I was by myself. So 2 and 3 gathered, touching in my name. There I am in the midst. So I went back inside to order. There was someone behind me recording so that it could be captured. Upper management, seeing that I was in line, he said, hey, just kind of looked at me with this look on his face. Hey, what do you want, or what can I get you? And I told him what I wanted. Prior to that, before he walked up, the 2 ladies behind the counter were conversing with each other, saying, hey, this is the lady, she's with them, we're not going to serve her. So being that upper management came and said, hey, you can serve her, they served me. But there was another mini manager, I'm not sure his exact position, but he came from out of nowhere, stormed around the corner and said, what do you want? Why are you here? We already told you that we are not servicing you. You need to get away. He just proceeded to say different things. And this is on video. This particular part is on video. So upper management came and said, just serve her. So he was rude. I mean, he was just grabbing things, just handing things at me. He was just very forceful in how he was responding. And I said, hey, sir, I wouldn't discriminate against you because you have, your rainbow flags. Just because I may not agree with who you are, it doesn't mean that that I'll disrespect you or deny you of coming into my establishment. He didn't want to hear anything I had to say. He was just rude. At the end of the conversation, he said, and do not come back. So I left out of the establishment, and here I am now, and it's just really bothersome that, that people would just really deny you of purchasing an item, which is, blessing their establishment. And it's just very hurtful. I just begin to, think about, being an African-American female, just thinking about the things my ancestors went to, because it's more personal with me on that level. And not just that, just thinking about Jesus, like what he experienced, and he was perfect, and he never said a mumbling word, and they just discriminated against him, or they were very violent towards him, and it hurt me on the inside, and I just began to just weep emotionally, like, wow, this, and even speaking with management, I said, sir, it's really not that serious. I see if I was trying to shoot somebody, or I'm threatening someone's life. We're standing behind, these posters, barricades. We're respectful. We're treating everybody with respect, with love and kindness, in spite of what they're coming at us with the negative comments, the curse words, they're just being violent and outrageous about the situation. So it's very hurtful for this to really happen. It's a hurtful situation. It is. It's very hurtful.
Wow. Taheiya, I appreciate you calling, and we're really praying for you.
Yes, I'm going to send some pictures to Pastor Hunter, but we're at Western State University. The Student Center and the Barnes Noble, it looks like it's connected. You'll see the pictures. You'll say, well, it seems like it's connected, but according to management, they are separate from the university, although it's literally attached to the university. So, and they have university, attire. So I'm not really sure the ins and outs of that situation.
What city in West Virginia is this in?
Morgantown, West Virginia.
Okay. Wow, Taheiya. Really appreciate this a lot.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Taheiya. I'll be talking to you later.
Okay.
God bless you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Now, the home for the Center for Bioethical Reform on the internet is actually a thing called abortionno.org, abortionno.org. And I want to give you fair warning. It's a very graphic site. This organization really believes that if something is so horrible that you don't want to look at it, perhaps it should not be legal at all.
Just Common Sense, a common sense approach to life with Dr. Johnny Hunter. Get involved and embrace common sense conservative principles when you visit learninc.org. LEARNINC, learninc.org. To listen, like, and share, look for Just Common Sense anywhere you listen to podcasts.